You've got a new planner, a fresh set of pens, and a surge of motivation. You're ready to map out the next 90 days and crush those goals. But what if I told you that by starting right now, you're probably setting yourself up to fail? That all that excitement you're feeling is about to lead you down the exact same path of overwhelm that you were on 90 days ago. The secret to a successful quarter isn't what you put in the planner. It's what you do before you even open it. I know what you're thinking, Marianne, don't burst my bubble. I don't want to slow down. And you're feeling the pressure to have the next quarter's plan locked in before this one even ends. But let me ask you an honest question. How did the last 90 days plan actually plan out? Did you have one? Did you present a bold strategic vision to your leadership team, only to get pulled back into the weeds of the daily 9 to 5? Did that brilliant plan get completely derailed because you were too busy being the chief bottleneck in your own company? That exact cycle is why this podcast exists. Welcome to Weekly Momentum, the show for established women in business and founders who are ready to escape the day-to-day grind for good. Because whether you want to build a 4-hour work week or a sustainable 40-hour one, the only way to get there is to be more efficient and effective with your time. And that's where Weekly Momentum comes in. This is your weekly appointment to stop operating and start architecting, to finally work on your business, not just in it. So if that feeling of being trapped in the day-to-day grind is painfully familiar, it's because you're trying to build the next phase of your company on a foundation of burnout. The problem isn't your vision, it's what you're doing before you tap into it. So how many times has this happened? You finish a frantic quarter. Maybe you hit some goals, maybe you didn't, maybe you looked at your plan, maybe you didn't, but you're so ready for a fresh start that you just dive headfirst into the next big plan. You tell yourself, this time is going to be different. This time, I'll be more disciplined. This time, I will actually follow the plan. It's what every ambitious business owner and creator does. We finish the race and immediately sprint to start the next one without even catching our breath. But the problem is that when we do that, we skip the most critical part of the entire process. We're so focused on the next thing that we fail to extract the lessons, the energy, and the momentum from the last thing. Think of it like a race car driver. They don't just finish a race and then immediately jump back on the track. They make a pit stop. They debrief with their crew. They analyze the data. They refuel. They see what worked and what didn't. And that pit stop is what allows them to be even faster and smarter in the next race. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a strategic pit stop together. I am going to walk you through 3 non-negotiable steps that you must take before you write a single goal for the next 90-day plan. And this isn't productivity hacks. This is about building a sustainable system for growth and avoiding burnout and getting your goals completed. And by the end of this video, you're going to have a framework, a foundation to build your next 90-day plan on that is full of clarity, creativity, and confidence. Now, if you're already one of my clients or you're coming to the 90-day planning day that I have coming up in Pasadena, then you're probably watching this video because I told you to. And what we're going to do in this video is going to set you up so that you are going to get even more out of our time together when we actually create your 90-day plan. And I'm super excited because the 90-day plan that we're going to be creating together in the next phase, and maybe I'll talk about this in next week's podcast, is a brand new format for the 90-day plan that is built around systems and strategic growth, breaking everything down into doable action steps and laying it all out so you can just plug and play them into each week to get stuff done. So everything that we're doing today is going to lay the foundation for you to be able to shift into that new format. So step 1, the first thing we need to do is we need to look backwards. I know it feels counterintuitive when all you want to do is move forward, but this is where the gold is. I call this your 90-day rewind, and it's a debrief. Your last 90 days were a masterclass in what works and what doesn't for you. It's a real world data, not theory or a business book. And if you don't analyze it, you're wasting your most valuable asset. So how do we do that? How do we rewind the last 90 days? I'm going to give you a series of questions that you can ask yourself so that you can make sure that you're mining it for gold. Before we start the rewind, the first thing you need to do is refresh your memory. As a busy business owner, of course you're going to forget what happened yesterday, never mind the week before or the week before that. And we need to really look at the data in black and white rather than just guesstimating what happened. Because if I ask you right now these questions before you've refreshed your memory, you're going to answer with whatever's top of mind rather than the actual facts. You're going to need to just jog your memory a little bit, and it doesn't have to be that complicated to do it. So the first thing that you can do to jog your memory is simply just scroll back on your phone over your calendar, your Google Calendar or your calendar on your computer. And I just want you to scan what happened over the last 90 days. It's amazing as you just look at the dates and a few items that are on your calendar. It's almost like a domino effect, and you'll start to fill in a lot of the gaps that aren't even on the calendar. And your memory starts to kick into gear and remember what happened. It's like foreplay for rewinding. It's going to go ahead and get you starting to feel back into what happened over the last 90 days. So first thing, just literally take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, scan back over your calendar, remind yourself of what you were doing, who you were with, where you went to, some of the appointments that you had. Next step, if you are already using my Momentum 90-day planners, then we've got built into this. If you go to each of the months, you're going to see there's a 2-page spread for you to take inventory at the end of every month. So if you've been following along and doing that, you can now simply look back over each month from the last 3 months and quickly take inventory and remind yourself of what happened. And the nice thing about this is it's broken into the 12 life areas. So you're getting a well-rounded, broad perspective of what happened, not just sneaking a peek at some of the areas of your life and neglecting others. And so this is a really great way for you to refresh your memory quickly and easily. Once you've done that and you've got a better handle on what actually happened over the last 90 days, the next step is to go into the rewind questions. And these are very similar to the focus questions I was talking about in a podcast episode a couple of weeks ago. And in that episode, I talked about how a lot of people feel like their biggest problem is, oh, there's so many distractions, or I'm so distracted, or I procrastinate. But ultimately, what's underlying that is a focus problem. And so those questions will help you do that. And if you want to deep dive into them, you can go back through the podcast episode. I'll drop the link to it in the description below. Also, quick heads up, as I go through these questions right now to help you rewind the last 90 days, I'm going to put the questions in the description below. So don't worry about needing to write them all down. Just take them in and know that the questions are in the description below for you. And you can just go through them if you want at your leisure after you've finished watching the video. Now, the first question is, what is your big goal right now? And what I mean by that is your annual or your 90-day goal from the last quarter. So this is really a way for you to just zero in and remind yourself the things you've already figured out. So often people come to me to create a plan and they start from square one, but you're not starting from square one. This isn't the beginning of the year. We're already 90 days in and you've already put some effort into figuring out what you want. So at least go back and look at that even if you change your mind. So the first step of the rewind is simply to remind yourself, what is my annual goal? What am I really wanting to get out of this year? Where do I want to be by the end of it? And what was my 90-day goal for the last 90 days? Now, as you do that, you might realize that's not relevant anymore. Things have completely changed. You might have a moment that a lot of my new clients have when I ask them this, when they go, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Or it might be that you've been looking at it regularly throughout the last 90 days and it's just a quick reminder of where you're heading. It's just like looking at the map and remembering the destination that you plugged into the GPS so that you're not just driving all over the place. You've got a clear idea of what your destination is. The next question is for you to really start to look at the progress you're making. So you've gotten clear on your destination that you had in mind. Now I want you to ask yourself, what progress have you made over the last 90 days? You can once again look at your calendar. You can look at the taking inventory sheets. You can look at the weekly momentum. If you created a weekly top 10s and you've been using the momentum planner, you can use all of these tools to help you really find those moments of progress, those accomplishments, those movements forward that you've made. Now, progress is so important, and let me tell you why. If we don't feel like we are making progress, and progress simply means moving forward towards what we want. Doesn't mean that you've gone the whole distance. You might not have gone very far, but as long as you feel like you've made a little bit of progress, it will fuel you to create more momentum. However, if you don't feel like you're making progress, either because you're not or you just haven't recognized it, you feel hopeless. And when we feel hopeless, ladies, how productive are we? Not very at all. It's a really slippery slope when we start to feel hopeless, down to feeling overwhelmed, afraid, and suddenly things that we could handle before, like a client crisis or a week that dipping the numbers a little bit and we're not seeing the growth that we'd anticipated, really hit us hard. But if we have taken the time to look at the progress that we've made and to recognize it, no matter how small, we can then fuel the momentum to continue to move forward. We stay in a higher level of the emotional scale that I talk about quite often on this podcast. So taking the time to first look and recognize the progress that you've made towards your annual and your 90-day goals from the last quarter is a really important step before we start planning anything else. The next question I want you to ask yourself is I want you to start to really zero in on what worked, what didn't, and why. As business owners, we are living and breathing in a constant experiment because the climate changes, the industries change, we change, our team changes. So we're constantly fine-tuning, and we can't do that unless we take a moment to look at what worked, what didn't, and an idea of why. It's a question that came from one of my old acting classes, and I always find it so helpful and so easy to remember. And you can use that question anytime. If you're feeling stumped for the day and not sure which direction to go in or overwhelmed, you can simply stop, take a break, grab a piece of paper and go, okay, what's working, what's not, and why? But right now, I want you to ask that question and look back over the last 90 days. What's working, what's not, and why? That way, you can also prevent yourself from repeating the same thing and expecting different results. And we all know that's the definition of insanity, right? The final question here is, what are your do-overs? Now, if you've listened to this podcast for a while or worked with me, you know I'm a huge fan of taking a moment to really step back through and give ourselves a do-over of things that are not working. And a reminder of what a do-over is. A do-over is when you identify something that didn't work or something you did that you regret, and you go back to that moment and you give yourself a second chance, an opportunity to do it again. Now, not literally. Obviously, we haven't yet figured out how to take ourselves back and time travel back. But in your mind, in your imagination, It's really powerful if you do that, because if you were to just identify 3 do-overs from the last 90 days and really look at them, really come up with exactly what, when, and how you would have done things differently. When you do it with specific details, you rewire your brain so that when you put yourself in that situation or a similar situation again, you have different choice points to select from. And as leaders, what we're doing all the time is making choices all day, every day. The better our choices, the better our leadership, the better growth for our business, and the more effective and efficient we are with our time. So when you go over and you go back and you do a do-over, you're setting yourself up to be better at making choices in the future. So 3 do-overs. I really want you to challenge yourself. And I want you to imagine you have me on your shoulder, because you've ever worked with me. You'll know whatever you come up with, I'm going to ask you more detail. What exactly would you do differently? Don't just point to the problem with the do-over. I want you to literally step back through it. The example I always use, which you're probably sick of hearing, but is when I ran out of gas on the way to the Grand Canyon with my daughter. I didn't just say the do-over was to get gas. I said the do-over was the day before, after I went to the gym, to stop at the gas station on the right-hand side of the street, the Arco that was right there, okay? So real specific details of what we're looking for when you go back and do your do-over. Once you've completed your 90-day rewind, your brain is probably buzzing with some ideas, some insights. Make a note of them, but you're not making the plan yet. I want you to actually do the exact opposite. I want you to recharge. And I don't mean just get a good night's sleep, although that's a really good idea. I want you to intentionally create white space and activities on your calendar to help you recharge as we're stepping into planning week. As a founder, a creator, a CEO, your biggest asset is your ability to think and strategize and to have vision. And you can't tap into that high level of creativity and problem solving when you're running on empty and you're operating from a place of stress. Burnout doesn't just happen overnight. It happens because you work hard and you stop doing the things that replenish you. So what does a strategic recharge look like? It's not about taking a 2-week vacation. Oh, once again, that can be great too. It can be as simple as scheduling 1 or 2 vision days before your planning session. Maybe you have a spa day. Maybe you just set aside 1 Pomodoro every day for the next few days so that you can recharge and do activities that help you recharge. It might be to go to a museum or an art gallery. Maybe you're going to read a nonfiction book, or rather a fiction book. Maybe you go for a long hike without your phone or listen to music that makes you feel alive. The end of a quarter is a great time to do a reboot. Your brain needs new inputs to create new outputs. If all you ever do is the same thing, your ideas will become stale. So before you plan, you need to recharge. Schedule it, protect it. It's not a luxury, it's a strategic necessity. So step 2 here before you plan is to spend a few days and to build into your time recharging. All right, the last 2 steps have primed the pump ready for the 3rd and final step. We're building this really great foundation for you then to go ahead and do your 90-day plan. But before you do, now that you have rewound, now that you have recharged, I want you to now begin to tap into your intuition, your vision. I want you to start tuning into what you want and give yourself some time for you to receive the guidance that is going to help you forge your way forward. No matter what your belief system is, you have an intuition that can guide you beautifully in the most efficient way forward. You know better than any book, better than I can tell you, better than a strategic planner can tell you. You know what it is that is not working and what you want more of. And so I want you to start a document and I want you to start really tuning into what you want more of. What is it you want? I love to think of this as embracing your hunger. Now, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we're in a small percentile because most people have a 9 to 5 job. And honestly, what I see as the difference between a business owner and a 9 to 5er is that a business owner tends to have a hunger, a desire that they're tapping into that they want more. Someone that's working 9 to 5 is in a position or a job and they are being told what to do. They're being given goals by other people most of the time. And they enjoy that security. But as a business owner, you are driven by the hunger. It may be that you had an entrepreneurial seizure, as Michael Gerber talks about in the E-Myth Revisited. And that seizure forced you to go, screw it, I'm going to start my own business. I want more freedom. I want to make more money. I know a better way of doing this. I want to control who my clients are or who I help. I want to make more of an impact. I want to do it in a different way. But it is that hunger that has driven you to this point right now to being a business owner. And so I want you to now, in this third step, honor that hunger, embrace it, and start to make notes of what you want. Remind yourself, tap into it, because that's ultimately what's going to create your momentum. If you've read my book, Daily Momentum, I dedicate an entire section of the book to figuring out what you want. It's not as easy as it seems. And so I'm asking you right now to tap into that and to take some time, have a blank sheet of paper and just mind map. Start to feel into what you want going forward. Don't necessarily put a time frame around it and say what you want in the next 90 days. Just tune into what you want more of right now. What do you want less of right now? So that when you do sit down to create the plan, it's built around what's important to you and you've tapped into your intuition to help you create that framework. So there was 3 steps that we went through right now. The first step was to rewind. We need to refresh our memory. We need to look at what worked, what didn't, and why. The second step was a reminder to recharge. Now, obviously, as you're listening to the podcast, you didn't just recharge, you didn't plug in and be done with it. But hopefully, because I mentioned it as its own step, you're going to go ahead and put some recharge time in your calendar this week as we step into the planning phase and get ready to move into the next 90 days. And then step 3 is where you tap into your intuition and you embrace your hunger and you create that blank slate for where you might go next. And at this point, you're just brainstorming. You know, when I do this with a lot of my clients or in a workshop setting, I have them get a big piece of paper and just mind map. You can even use in the 90-day planner the 12 life areas from the taking inventory at the end of every month. You can use those as a starting off point, and there's little prompts next to each one so that you can start to just think about what is it you want? What might things look like going forward? I like to think of it as catching the raindrops. You know, planning often stumps people because they want people to tell them what to do. But you have a lot of insight that has gotten you to where you are right now. You can tap into your intuition. It might not tell you exactly how to do something, but your intuition might give you that guidance about how you can figure out how to do the thing that you want to do. So give yourself your space to do that brainstorming in step 3 before you forge forward and create the actual plan. I've been playing around with 90-day planning for probably around 18 years right now. And it's something that is a non-negotiable with my clients because without a 90-day plan, every session, we may just be going in different directions and not really getting anywhere. The 90-day plan that I've been using has evolved over the last 18 years. And really excited because I have been noodling on a brand new structure for it. I started to play with it at the annual retreat with those of you that were there. We started weaving in the Pomodoro technique into the plan so that we could literally build into the plan action steps that you could plug and play into your week. Because I know a lot of people will create a plan, whether it's a 90-day or an annual one, and then they're stumped with what to do each week to move forward and make progress. And we know, as I talked about already, that progress is so critical. So I'm building into the new 90-day planning framework the Pomodoro technique, the 25-minute action steps that you're going to take. And we're also going to build into the 90-day plan the systems that you need to focus on building next. They're going to get you where you want to go. So I've got so much fun stuff set up if you'd like to create a 90-day plan with me. I'm going to drop the link below. There's 3 ways you can work with me. The first way is, of course, you can do private coaching with me. I really love the idea of doing a weekly format for that so that we can create momentum and consistency in your action. And that's how we develop habits and get out of that whole hustle mindset. The second way you can work with me, and I'll create a 90-day plan with you, is if you come to one of my planning days. I have one coming up in Pasadena at the end of this week, and it's a great opportunity if you're in California. The third way are my Get It Done weekends. At the Get It Done weekends, what's nice about it is you've got 2 days. So we spend at least a day getting stuff done so you can be wrapping up the last 90 days and feel like you have that clean slate. And then we create the 90-day plan together on the second day, and then I dedicate some time for you to get started on it. So you leave feeling like you're already in momentum. So those are 3 ways to work with me. Drop the link below. You have, in this episode, been creating this lovely foundation so that you don't just keep rinsing and repeating the things that aren't working. I want you to set yourself up for success as we shift into the next quarter so that you can create some delightful, delicious, deliberate momentum. All right, ladies, before you open that shiny new planner, let's make a pact. We're not just going to dive in headfirst. We're going to make a strategic pit stop using the 3 steps that I just talked about. We're going to rewind and do that debrief. And then we are going to schedule in time to recharge, not just for the next 2 weeks, by the way. Book your recharge to keep going through the whole 90 days. Build it in so you can allow your creativity and your vision to flourish. And then thirdly, I want you to be inviting your intuition to show up and to create a blank slate. Could be a whiteboard, could be a piece of paper where you embrace your hunger and you start to jot down ideas of what you want. And if you don't have one of my 90-day planners yet, I'm going to drop the link below. You can go browse my shop and figure out which planner package works best for you. I also love using these with my clients because it's a really great way for us to keep our momentum going and to track our progress. And finally, one last thing before we wrap up today. If you really are committed to making the shift from being so busy in the daily grind that you're working in your business but not on your business and you're drowning, then the best way that you can do that is to make the Weekly Momentum podcast your standing appointment with yourself and me to work on your business. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. Think of it like our weekly appointment to do your weekly strategic planning. Thanks for your time and your attention today. Now, grab those 3 questions. I'll pop them in the description below, and I will see you in momentum.